Hey, peace and blessings, everybody. Peace to the true and living. It's your brother Asare back with yet another one. Um, Today we're gonna jump back into the 48 laws of power. We're gonna get into this 21st law, man. I know we've been kind of jumping around, kind of put our toe in that others to self water. You know what I'm saying? We were talking about morphogenic fields. We talking about ether, interconnectedness of bodies and everything like that, kind of really tying together this whole thing about the how the fluctuations in the relationships between people um, is very similar to the pressure gradient in a electromagnetic field or a field period. So kind of getting into the science aspect of that, believe it or not, I'm not a Cambridge scholar or what I'm saying, an Oxford scholar or whatever, but believe it or not, that's actually some profound stuff that we're talking about. I probably would never get a certain level of credit for speaking about anything like that, but the accolades and really the details of my life period are inconsequential, man. We do this for the true and living, you know what I'm saying? For the young guys coming up, you see what I'm saying? So they get them something to chew on so they can be even more beastly than some of the demonstrations that we putting out right now. So we adding that contrast to the game. We changing energy out here. That's what we trying to do. So I really could care less about um any type of accolades, but check out some of the stuff we put down in that others to self category. Is kind of profound if you get a chance to check it out. But all that to the side. Let's see here. We're gonna get into back into these 48 laws of power, man. Okay, so we're gonna get into the 21st law of power, right? The 21st law of power is act dumber than your mark, play a sucker to catch a sucker. Okay, so I think that's kind of self-explanatory as far as that. You see what I'm saying? A hold back as far as the information on what you may know, so that you'll seem dumber than your mark, so the person won't suspect that you may have some sort of ulterior motive. Now we going back into these 48 laws of power. We're dealing with a lot of ulterior motives, deception, exploitation, as I've been calling it, or whatever have you, or whatever. Like I said, the True Master is not designed for exploitation. However, it's based off of a martial art, so it does have that built into it. A good benefit of this, you can kind of see when you're being exploited with some of these teachings. Now, normally I have something written up, you see what I'm saying? But we're just gonna kind of go off the hip with this. Um, okay, as far as acting dumber than your mark. Okay, so this ties into some of the other laws of power that we already did. It's kind of repeating a similar theme or whatever case may be. This can tie into hiding patterns within patterns. You see what I'm saying? Hiding a pattern within a pattern is, let's say, a person trusts you to do a particular thing or whatever case may be. And, patterns have timing. You see what I'm saying? So you can fit other patterns in smaller cycles within larger cycles or whatever case may be. So this goes into the whole thing where, what I'm saying, um, you married to somebody or you're in a relationship with somebody, but you don't know what they're doing when you ain't around type thing or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That could tie into that or whatever case may be, act dumber than your mark or whatever case may be, hiding patterns within patterns or whatever case may be. The dumber than your mark thing is more of an informational thing. But again, with True Master, we're dealing with themes, so it kind of broadens it out or whatever case may be. So this could be hiding actions within other actions. Um, you see what I'm saying? Um, but I'm gonna go into a specific teaching out of that TM. You see what I'm saying? Now, keep in mind that it could be a thing where you're hiding patterns within patterns or whatever case may be. Now, I'm gonna illustrate someone that hiding patterns within patterns or whatever case may be. What's the higher leverage point for that? All right. So if you're dating somebody or whatever case may be, and you don't know what they doing while you at work or whatever case may be, which is the inevitable circumstance for all of us, you inevitably gotta trust somebody. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta operate on the principle level because you can't put a leash on this person or a GPS on this person to know what they're doing 24/7 or whatever. And if you could, who wants to be in a relationship with somebody where you got to do something like that? you would operate off the principle level. You would find somebody who has a principle of loyalty or whatever case may be, or have a certain level of balancement with the principle of loyalty or whatever case may be, so or a decent relationship with the principle of loyalty. So you ain't got to put the GPS on them and everything like that. So regardless of what happens or whatever, they're loyal enough to the principle of loyalty and to the relationship as a whole or whatever as a manifestation of that, where they can be trusted to do whatever you're trying to get them to do. Okay, so that's one side of the game or whatever case may be. Just showing the leverage points when we deal with patterns or whatever principles are a higher leverage point or whatever case may be. If you're dealing with somebody or whatever case may be, and they're kind of wayward or whatever case may be, yeah, you don't know what they're doing while you at work or whatever case may be. And if they have some sort of ill relationship with certain principles as far as loyalty, if they're not loyal to other things in their life or whatever case may be, then why would you think that they're going to be loyal to you or whatever case may be? So they have an ill relationship with the concept of loyalty, period, or whatever case may be. So when you go to work, yeah, whatever could be going on or whatever case may be. So that could be a thing or whatever case may be. Principles are a higher leverage point than what we're talking about as far as some of these behaviors that we're getting into in the 48 laws. So now we're gonna read something out of this TM. We'll read some of this TM Volume 2, this True Master Volume 2, this self to others. Uh okay, so this is a section called concealment versus dominance, right? So this is the law of power, 21st law of power. Um, act dumber than your mark. You see what I'm saying? Play a sucker to catch a sucker, right? So let's get into this. This is the TM. This is what we're getting into with TM. Concealment versus dominance. All right. All right. So anybody got this book? This is page 186. We'll get into this. Okay. So concealment versus dominance. Concealment trumps dominance. Okay. Concealment and dominance. Concealment obviously is having something concealed. Dominance is a person, you see what I'm saying, that's visibly intimidating or whatever case may be. You see what I'm saying? It's a funny thing because coming from my community, being a black person and stuff like that, you tell people that you, let's say, like, you do martial arts or whatever, and in people's minds, if you ain't like 6'5", 300 pounds, you can't fight. But realistically, people who actually practice fighting arts, you know that it may be somebody that's 6'5", 300 pounds that can't fight. So that don't that don't always mean anything, but that's the correlation in most people's minds. So that's a funny thing. But that's that dominance, concealment versus dominance. Some of the illest fighters I ever seen or whatever, they don't look like nothing. You see what I'm saying? So that's another thing. Okay, so concealment versus dominance. Concealment trumps dominance because you don't always know what you're up against, right? You don't always know what you're up against. Not being prepared is the only true sin. So in True Master, um, you see what I'm saying? This literature introduces you to a slightly different concept. You see what I'm saying? The only true sin is not being prepared. You see what I'm saying? That's what True Master says. You see what I'm saying? Not being prepared is the only true sin, and there are situations where dominance is not an option. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes the circumstances around you are so crystallized or whatever case may be, you don't have the option to be dominant in this situation or whatever. Somebody else has already taken ownership of that whole of the um dominant position in that scenario or whatever, and that's just not an option for you. Okay, so not being prepared is the only true sin. And there are situations where dominance is not an option. Sometimes your position will not allow for effective dominance. This is why a physically strong person is not always the most qualified to lead, because they think with the strong man's mentality of dominance. All right. The strongest person might be like, hey man, we're just gonna go in there, kick the door down, and just bust it open or whatever catch may be, and drag everybody up out of there. But it might be somebody sitting behind the door, you see what I'm saying, with a shotgun that he don't think about, but he's thinking with a strong man mentality. So that's just a crude example. Let's see here, which is not always available. Just like in the context of physical self-defense, physical combat is an emergency technique. To all my young people, physical combat is an emergency technique. Anytime you have to physically engage somebody in a physical combat, I don't care what your woman tell you or whatever. I know you want to get look fly, fighting somebody and beating somebody up in front of your girl or whatever case may be. If you get killed, she's gonna be out with somebody else while you in the grave. So just so real advice to anybody. Okay, so if you have to engage with somebody physically, you see what I'm saying? that's a last resort or whatever, because whenever you engage with somebody physically in a physical altercation or whatever, your life is at risk because you really don't know what's happening or whatever case may be. That homeboy could be hiding behind the bushes or whatever case may be, whatever the scenario would be. Any responsible person would tell you that. Okay, so let's see here. Not mean to go on that little rant. Okay, physical combat is an emergency technique. No matter how good of a fighter you are, this means that you cannot resolve the issue mentally and you are in a recovery situation in most cases. So solve the optimal thing is to solve the altercation mentally, the art of fighting without fighting, because you're not in danger or you're in less danger of physical harm or what have you. Okay. Uh, let's see here. This means that you cannot resolve the issue mentally, and you are in recovery situation in most cases. You are in recovery. The altercation has already happened, and you gotta get your way out of it. Um, Talking your way through it. That means you're in the preparatory phase. The altercation has not happened yet, or whatever. You're talking. You see what I'm saying? The delivery is you engaged in the altercation, you catching it when it happens, or whatever case may be, and you dealing with it. Now I'm illustrating this from a perspective of a fight because this is what this material is based off of. But this could be an argument with your girl. This could be getting fired from your job. This could be anything, any situation or whatever case may be. Okay, this means that let's see here. Imagine you accost someone through unarmed physical aggression with a focus on dominance. You did not know that your would-be victim is dealing with concealment. There's a difference between concealment and dominance. Via a small sidearm, you advance on him and he fires. There is no preparation for an unseen. So you will catch it on execution at best and at worst on recovery or hindsight. You see what I'm saying? So this is just talking about the unseens, the unknowns. Okay. Uh, where in the vein of dominance, most, if not all, or a reasonable number of your cards are on the table. So if you're in a if you're operating off of what I'm calling dominance or whatever case may be, um, the thing to be feared is in it can be seen or can be observed. Oh man, such a got a pistol out, man. Well, okay, so everybody see what kind of pistol you got. Everybody see where you got it at. Everybody see the stand third or whatever case may be. So that's understood. So that's the thing about dominance. So that's you see what I'm saying? Okay, so we're in the vein of dominance, most if not all, or a reasonable number of your cards on the table. This puts your opponent easily in preparation when dealing with you. I'm in preparation because you don't know what's on my mind. You got this big pistol showing or whatever case may be, but you don't know what I'm thinking in the back of my mind. I'm thinking this whole plan to get that pistol up out your hand or whatever case may be, or to get to the trunk where I got a bigger gun, however it may go. You know, whatever the scenario is. I'm just giving examples of what I'm talking about. This is play a sucker to catch a sucker, right? Okay. This puts your opponent easily in preparation when dealing with you. If not being prepared is the primary sin, and you cannot be prepared for the unknown. So concealment forces your opponent into being a sinner. Your concealment forces your opponent into the unknown. Okay, the ego fears the unknown. You see what I'm saying? Now, when I say being unprepared is the only sin. You see what I'm saying? That's as it pertains to engaging things or whatever case may be. Now, when we talk about uncertainty and all that stuff like that, that's a whole nother different bag. It's a whole nother different context. I'm talking about being unprepared for a given situation or whatever case may be. A level of awareness as far as a situation, a level of situational awareness. Okay, sensitivity and responsiveness is related to scarcity or abundance of information. Sensitivity and responsiveness is related to scarcity or abundance of information. So all of that's dealing with your level of awareness. Okay, in the context of the four elements, right? Earth, fire, wind, and water. For the reason of concealment, some consider wind to be the most powerful of the four elements. That's a brother by the name of that's a ninjutsu master, if I'm not mistaken, a brother by the name of Ronald Duncan. He came with that. I had the the pleasure of meeting one of his students, and he spoke on that particular teaching. about the four elements and the element of the wind. In the context of the four elements, earth, fire, wind, and water, for the reason of the concealment, some consider wind to be the most powerful of the four elements because the wind appears out of nowhere and disappears into nowhere just as fast and as mysterious as it appeared. There is no way to prepare for it. You are confined to delivery and recovery, lateness. You see what I'm saying? You can only see it when it comes. There's no way to prepare for it. You just see it. You just get hit with it when it get there, and you got to recover from it after you're hit. The wind principle deals with space. Space is the most abundant thing on the planet and in the universe. Abundance is being able to do what you need to do when you need to do it. Right? Say it again. Abundance is not having a game. You know what I'm saying? It's not equated with um, having a lot of something, is just equated with being able to do what you need to do when you need to do it. This usually ties into being prepared in advance through wisdom, physical devices, conditioning, etc., to assist you in a given situation. Delivery is more of a neutral ground, 50-50. Your awareness kicks in when the thing happens. You're not aware of it beforehand or whatever. And recovery is scarcity of details and awareness. Recovery means you're not prepared at all. It has happened to you. You done got hit. You got stole on, and now you recovering. You know, trying to slow down time or whatever case may be. Those scenarios start to come into play. The archetype of power comes at 8 prior to zenith. Okay, so we're talking about climax, zenith. Okay, the archetypal power comes at 8 prior to zenith, climax, completion at 9. He's talking about if we had horizon at 0 and zenith at 9. You see what I'm saying? The archetypal power comes in at 8 prior to zenith, climax, completion at 9. Zenith deals with fire. Fire deals with visibility. Invisibility maintains power. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Invisibility maintains power, right? When things are seen, people try to change it. You can't change something you don't know about. Ask an astrologer about the 12th house. And those are the unseen things. Those are the things that people don't know about you. You see what I'm saying? When things are seen, people try to change it. It is susceptible to variation. When it's seen and known, it's susceptible to variation. You see what I'm saying? If it's unknown, it's not susceptible to variation. It's gonna come. It's in the darkness. You see what I'm saying? Sensitivity and responsiveness is a part of scarcity or abundance of information. Sinner, debtor, unprepared. When opportunity presents itself, it is always too late. Not being prepared is the cardinal sin. You cannot prepare for the unknown. Abundance is being able to balance the energy. Abundance is being able to balance the energy and being sensitive and responsive to notice energy that is out of balance. Scarcity is not being able to balance the energy. You see what I'm saying? Your rent needs to be paid and you're 200 short or whatever case may be. You're not able to balance the energy. You see what I'm saying? You're not able to sweat it out. So that's play a sucker to catch a sucker. You know how we do with a lot of this true master stuff. You're gonna start off with a specific scenario, and then due to the fact that we're real theme heavy, we're dealing with themes and stuff like that, so it gets broadened out to a broader context and everything like that, but you still get a well balanced breakfast. You see what I'm saying? So that was the 21st law of power, man. We're gonna try to keep it pushing with those 48 laws. Appreciate you for chiming in, man. You like what you've been hearing, like and subscribe, man. Peace to the true and living, you the true and living. Thank you for tuning in. Catch you on the next one.